Greetings, fellows of the Forge. We are here with another installment of Underground Spotlight, where we showcase some of the best of the metal underground releases of the last couple months. We spend countless hours scouring the catacombs of the dark and dreary depths of the metal genres of Bandcamp to find these releases and to bring them to you guys. Before we get started, what's some of your underappreciated and lesser known bands that you're listening to? Let us know in the comments. If you want to see more metal coverage in the form of album reviews, top band lists, interviews, reactions, and metal discussion, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss out. We post weekly metal content. We want to hear from you. Hit us up on here or on our socials. Let's get to our first pick. This first one is Mace, Charred Field of Slaughter. This was released on August 14th as an independent release. I love the independent release thing. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. I love when bands have the balls to do this. I have to admit that when I read the band name Mace, I was a little bit skeptical. We listen to a lot of music, and I love when bands have an unexpected and borderline silly name that are total gems underneath all of it. Chicago-based pulverizing death metal band Mace are an absolutely top-notch and gross death metal band along the lines of the Ackerfeld era Bloodbath, Bolt Thrower, Obituary, and some Slayer in there too. The production on this thing is slimy and punishing. The guitar work is everything killer about thrash-drenched death metal, and the drum and bass are pummeling. This is old school death metal at its absolute finest. This metal album reminded me of the glory days of the records of the 90s that I grew up on. It's pretty much a perfect death metal record in my eyes, and you guys are gonna love it. Here's a clip from Xenomorphic Conquest. This album is Riff City. The cover illustration, made by Matt Altieri, is a perfect match for What Lies Within. This album deserves a vinyl pressing. Push them to do it. Head over to Bandcamp, pick up some merch, support these guys. They have various shirt designs and CDs available. Check them out. Ben, what do you got?
I am very eager to check that one out, Brandon. That sounds like a great choice and maybe a top album of the month contender for sure if it came out this month. I don't really know. My first pick for Underground Spotlight is Resin Tomb's EP 2020. This was released at the end of July on Brilliant Emperor Records. It features members of Consumed and Siberian Hell Sounds. It was recorded and mixed at Black Blood Audio, which is the studio owned and operated by Brendan Auld. You may recognize that name when we featured his music with Snorlax. Brendan is also on guitar duties, and you can check out that Snorlax review by going back in time. Watch an old video, we talk about Snorlax. This is grimy, filthy death metal with moments of cavernous doom and sludge. The pacing of this EP is great. There are 5 songs, and the total runtime clocks in at about 15 minutes, 45 seconds to be exact. Let's throw it to a clip of the song Penance. Support Resin Tomb by following them on social media and buying their merchandise through Brilliant Emperor Records. Also be sure to support Black Blood Audio, the studio that produces these fantastic sounds. Brandon, what's your next one?
That's awesome that you picked Resin Tomb. I was going to put them on my list because they've been getting some buzz lately, and I love that Brendan Auld had his hands on it, and it's kind of cool to see that full circle ever since we started. Next one I got on my list is Angel Morgue, in the Morgue of Angels, which is hilarious in itself. This was released on August 7th on Redefining Darkness Records. This album is everything blasphemous, unholy, and punishing Manchester, New Hampshire-based Angel Morgue. They're right up in our alley in the New England area. They know how to dish up some insanely dark music with elements of black and death metal and doom. The production on this record feels like a dank crypt as you explore the rotting remains of where dead angels dwell. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Eric Sauter at Blackheart Sound really knows what he's doing here. I love when bands nail this kind of unique atmosphere and make something unique in what is a somewhat flooded genre of death metal these days. The vocals on this thing are also not totally drenched in reverb like a lot of the cavernous death metal bands you hear these days. I feel like it's a lot more in your face and it serves the music better in my opinion. I love that Angel Morgue is not afraid to play with both fast and slow tempos and drag the listener down into dreadful torment. This album kills. More people need to hear this band. Here's a clip from Lust Murderer. Now that we're approaching the fall and Halloween season, this is a great record to get in the mood. The cover artwork made by Jeff Whitehead reminds me a lot of early Slayer artwork, and I love it. They have limited edition CDs on their Bandcamp. Pick something up. Support these guys. Support your local artists. What do you got next, Ben?
Nice to see that New Hampshire is still putting out great metal music, so I'm definitely going to be checking those guys out. Next up on my list is Black Harvest with their Sun Across the Fields EP. This was digitally released at the very end of July by Kishore, the main musician and visionaire behind Black Harvest. I was introduced to this band when I ran into Jeremy of Oak Knoll Productions at a Rock and Shock festival somewhere in the mid-2000s, and he said, "Dude, you are gonna love this album," and he handed me a copy of White Light Came Down. I don't think that album left my car for about 8 months straight. It's a terrific record from front to back, and that was my introduction to Black Harvest. Sun Across the Fields was performed and recorded by Kishore, with the mixing and mastering duties by Nick Zampiello at New Alliance East in Somerville, Massachusetts. It's really hard to categorize Black Harvest. Yeah, it's metal, but when I tell you it's kind of all over the place, I'm not being hyperbolic. It is a fusion of a variety of metallic subgenres. Kishore's songwriting is superb. His use of chaos and dissonance is wonderfully contrasted by epic clean passages and striking syncopation. As a longtime fan, there's an element of fresh but familiar with this album, and that's something I really appreciate. Here is a clip from the highlight song, Oracle. You can support Black Harvest on Bandcamp. You can also check out Kishore's artwork by going to his website. He is an incredibly talented artist and even created the Metal Forge Reviews logo. So, a little tidbit for you superfans out there. Keep up with the great work, Kishore. Definitely looking forward to hearing more of your stuff. Brandon, talk about Kishore a little bit because he's awesome.
He sure is awesome, Ben, because he's been super supportive of us for years. And, you know, he actually made this logo too, and the artwork on this t-shirt. So he's pretty ingrained in what we do in the metal scene. And, you know, I love the guy, super talented dude. And I just hope he keeps making music for a long time because it's always great. The last one I have on my list is Crust and A Dirge Becomes an Anthem. This came out on August 14th on RUMF Productions. I think I was in an evil mood this month, because here's another raw and dismal sounding release that had me totally addicted. More people need to hear this band because this record is mystifying, relentless, heavy, and very melodic. Russian-based Crust does a great job not sticking to a particular genre. This record explores elements of black, doom, post, and a heavy dose of sludge. The raw production of this album makes this record very special. I love how real the instruments sound, and this band is incredibly tight. The album feels like you're traversing a battlefield in the dark. It's dead silent, and there's nothing but the stench of death alongside an ominous presence that's following you as you tread through an endless nightmare. The songwriting is fantastic. I think many of you will dig this release if you're looking for some grimy and evil music. Here's a clip from When the Winds Howl, the Song of Death. Crust has a ton of merch available on Bandcamp. They've got hats, patches, shirts, CDs with their logo and album art. The artwork by Denny Akhtamarov, probably butcher your name, sorry, is perfect for the atmosphere and vibe of this album. Super badass. I ordered their t-shirt, the white one to be specific. I love when bands print white t-shirts. I don't know why I love that, but I do. Support these guys. Check them out. Ben, what do you got?
I also like it when bands don't just stick to the black shirt motif, because we have a whole closet full of black t-shirts, so it's nice to have to mix it up a little bit once in a while. The next band on my list is Valravne, Some Kind of Vampire Part 2. This is the one-man black metal project from Asheville, North Carolina, and they have been very busy this year. You may recognize the name of this band, as we have covered them in a previous episode with their first installment of Some Kind of Vampire. This is their fourth release of 2020, and based upon the content, it is easily their best. This is upbeat, driving, and melodic black metal that takes pages from the best Swedish and Norwegian bands of the 90s, fused also with some punk and thrash elements, too. The quality is raw, but it doesn't sound like it was recorded with a Fisher-Price karaoke machine. From what I've gathered, the album was recorded, mixed, and mastered at Clean Sheets Studios, which is Valravne's in-house studio. You might be noticing a theme here with all these bands I've talked about today. In the digital age, many of the bands and artists that we feature are truly multi-talented in that they can play several instruments and produce records, and sometimes they do artwork too. Keep after it, guys and gals. You are doing an awesome service to the music community. Back to Valravne, this record is very well paced, topping it at 15 minutes with 4 songs, and it ultimately lands on an absolute banger, the song Lucid Nightmare. This is an outstanding song, and I want you to hear a clip of it right now. As always, support Valravne via Bandcamp, add them to your social media platforms, buy their tunes, do everything that you can to support them, because I really think they're going to start making some waves soon. Valravne is just one of the many bands and artists that has been in touch with us via social media, so if you are in a band and want us to take a listen to your stuff, get in touch with us on one of our platforms. We are really trying our best to listen to everything that gets sent along, and we're trying to expedite our segments so that way we can cover every bit of music that gets in front of us. As you can see, we have a new segment called Breakneck Reviews that just is very direct, 4 or 5 minutes where we just talk about music and that's it. Definitely hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, either one's fine with us. And as always, we appreciate your viewership and your engagement with us. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell for the notifications. We've got plenty of other segments for you to watch. Lists, reviews, interviews. Like I said, we just have a brand new segment called Breakneck Reviews. And as they say in Sunnyvale, California,
hasta la vista, baby.
Thanks for tuning in. I love you.
Take care, folks.